Only when Dan's not on.
Oh, right, okay. Just when Dan's on,
I still
do the Bible now.
We do, yeah. I love that Keith calls it Dan numbers. When we're doing Dan numbers, we're in the muddy.
Those evangelicals.
Yeah, when Dan comes on the choir of cherubim and seraphim, can be heard singing about our YouTube numbers.
And we are live.
I didn't do a damn thing with the audio podcast. So that's how the kids are consuming podcasts and the video podcast nowadays. They can't be just listening to stuff.
Gotta watch it.
Hello, we are Pixel Pints. We are the only podcast that talks about two things that we enjoy, which is good beer and video games. We're not here to promote drinking, especially at 7 o'clock in the morning, which it is for two of us. You can find us on social media, where we do social media things like posts, which is, I've always found that confusing because you don't actually physically post anything other than typing with your thumbs or your fingers. So if people just taken that vernacular from actual the in olden times when you would write on paper and put it in a post box.
Well, I guess technically you're posting it on a board of the
on
internet.
A board. So it's more like a memo in a pigeonhole then. Yes, that's enough of my pontification about totally pointless shite. You can follow us on social media at Pixel_Pints on Twitter, where I remembered to say that we would be live a day in advance. Mitch very inconveniently doesn't have his birthday today. Personally, I just think that's selfish. Announces his birthday and then says, "Oh, actually, it's not on that day."
No. I led with, by the way, next weekend is my birthday. You all better.
You said
show
next
up.
Saturday, and technically this was the next Saturday. But then it was me misreading it after a few beers and watching TV at the same time as seeing it. But why admit to me misreading something?
Or tomorrow is my birthday, but no.
To play devil's advocate, I saw the tweet and was like, what's he done? It's not his birthday that day.
You thought I tweeted it?
So Keith had tweeted it.
Oh.
Well,
I understood what his message meant.
Either way, either Mitch purposefully misled me, because I'm not going to admit that I got anything wrong, because why?
I'm with you, Keith. I thought it was today too.
Actually, to be honest, I do have the message where you do admit you are wrong, so I could just post that.
I'll go in and immediately delete it. No evidence of it. Or Mitch is secretly part of the British royal family and has multiple birthdays.
You know, I'm Polish, but I somehow have.
Well, the royal family's German. It's close enough geographically.
Yeah, somehow I've a 1/10% of blood that's blood relative, so therefore I get as many birthdays as I want.
And or you can also follow us on Instagram at Pixel Pints Pod. So announcements before we go around the room. I failed in my attempt to beat Evan at trophy gathering.
Yeah.
I don't know why did I do it. So at some point we will have a Titanfall 2 episode in which Evan's opinions on Titanfall 2 will become Pixel Pints canon. So expect Titanfall 2 to be the worst first-person shooter in the history of first-person shooters. Potentially, we don't know. And it's Mitch's birthday at some point in the future.
Like it's everybody's birthday sometime in the future.
Exactly.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. Matt, how are things in Vegas?
They're good. I forgot to pull up the weather, so I don't have that.
Well, it's 50-50.
But we'll pass it to Mitch because whatever the temperature is there is probably what it is here because they're going through a heat wave.
Well, it's 16°C, but I don't have the Fahrenheit. So you gotta do the Fahrenheit.
I'm glad that Mitch was on top of it.
It's 18°C. Sorry. In LA.
It's 63 Fahrenheit.
Thank you very much. That's
Makes
for
so
that
much sense.
in-depth insight into how you are, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Liam, how's things with you?
Well, the weather is quite sunny today, and there is no rain projected for the next 24 hours, and that's how I'm doing today.
And Mitch, how are things in La?
La is great. That's all I can
Good.
say.
Hot and sunny?
Hot and sunny.
Today, hot and sunny. Tomorrow, hot and sunny.
Tomorrow, next day, hot and sunny. Next day, hot and sunny.
Great. I won't carry on with the Bill Hicks joke on that one. I bought a bin.
Keith.
How good is that?
How are you?
Bin.
How are you, Keith?
I bought a bin. I don't know why I should be so excited about buying
A garbage?
a receptacle for my rubbish.
A trash thing.
For the non-British people, sorry, not British. No, I'm going to say British just to rub it in. For the non-British people, a bin is a trash bin.
Trash receptacle? Trash can?
Trash can.
Trash can is what we call it, yeah.
No, but it's for the one that you have indoors, not the trash can that you would know that you have outside your property that you put your...
And then a bin bag is a trash bag.
Yes.
You now learn some British terms, did it?
English.
Oh, sorry. English.
Well, they'd be British as well because they say the same in Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Well, I mean, technically, you originated
the language is English, and the Americans perverted it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, technically, they speak a version of English, which I had this debate with people at university. So, and we settled it in the pub, obviously.
As you do.
My friend and I. Yeah, my friend and I bet two guys from, I think they were from Cincinnati, if we could name 40 US states, they would have to agree with us. And I think we got to 44 before we got one wrong.
Nice.
And then we said, right, if you can name one Shire county in the UK, and they couldn't. Being a US sports fan does help naming states because most states have a sports team based in the state capital, so it's quite easy that way. Right, enough of that shite. Who's got interesting beverages? Ooh, I do. I have O'Hara's Red Irish Ale.
I like Irish
Produce of Ireland. I've never had this before. It came in my box of random beers, all of which came from Ireland this month. My next month's beers are all coming from Scandinavia. I also have 4 Pure Citrus IPA. I had this last night, and it was very nice. So I got myself another one. This would be a lovely summer beer, and it's made with tangerine juice.
Ooh.
So I will leave it up to you guys what you want me to open first.
Tangerine juice.
Ooh, I'll say from outside the Irish.
Yeah, the Irish Red. Just because
Okay, 2-1.
we have so many
If it was
IPAs.
Mitch's birthday, I'd go with him, but it's not. So because he changed the date.
You said I had multiple birthdays.
Well,
You said I'm royal family.
He's already opened the Irish
Obey
Red.
your king.
King Multi.
Well, okay. So funny enough, I've never seen the movie The Godfather. It's on my list to watch eventually. But I've heard there's someone, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. There's someone named Mitch in The Godfather.
Is there? I don't know. It's been so long since I watched it.
I think he was like the head honcho. So like a friend of mine, his his girlfriend, she always calls me Godfather. she's like Godfather, and I'm like, I don't know this reference, but I'm going with it. So I am the Godfather.
This is
No,
nice.
no offense, Mitch. I will not be calling you Godfather.
Unless you have children and you want Mitch to be their godfather.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I am glowing. I could be pregnant.
You could be pregnant, Matt. Yeah. If you hold this up to light, it doesn't look so much on camera. But if you hold this up to the light, it is very red. I wish I could actually. Can I show you via the magic of my telephone?
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
It looks much more red when you
Yeah.
and get more light on it. Hugely malty.
It's as tasty as it looks.
It's very nice. Very, very deep malt, hoppy flavour. That's really nice. 4.3% ABV. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you very much.
Could easily throw a few of those back.
Yeah. Particularly in 330ml sizes.
Yeah.
Craft brewed in Ireland. Thank you very much. O'Hara's Red Irish Ale. If anyone can get their hands on it and they like rich malty beers, that'll be one for you. So, Liam, you're drinking Lemsip. That's not a beer. That's a paracetamol and decongestant-based drink.
The cooperative special.
So not Lemsip, then. You're drinking own brand.
Well, yeah, I guess if you put it that way, yeah. I did have a Lemsip, but I ran out of those. So. Now, onto the cheap stuff.
Mitch, you're on water because you were out
Empty.
last night. I don't know. Did you have anything interesting to drink last night? Maybe a mojito?
No, it involved the T word. Tequila.
Oh.
A Long Island iced tea?
No.
Yes.
Tequila.
I'm going to share a song about tequila in the chat, and there was a guy in the video who it was a Irish comedian who ended up dying from alcoholism, which is in no sense of irony. He featured in a song about tequila.
Cirrhosis of the liver or alcohol poisoning?
Cirrhosis.
Okay.
So don't drink too much, says the guy with a bottle of beer. Matt?
Yeah, it's too early for me to be drinking, so I'm drinking coffee. If everybody's interested, shameless self-promotion, go to my blog. I did do, last weekend, we did a number of beers we tasted, so I wrote it all up. So if you go to berkough.com, you can read about it.
Is that also where you spelt commercialization wrongly?
No.
When you were a student?
No. Well,
And not just because you use a Z and not an S.
an older version of the website, yes. But that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay. Who wants to talk video games?
I do.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for engaging with the host.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe I didn't transition the beers.
That's all right.
It really doesn't matter.
It was
does
one
to me
one real beer.
For consistency. Here, hold on.
No one
Hold
watches
on.
this for consistency.
Hold on. Name your beer one more time, just real quick. Just what are you drinking?
O'Hara's Red Irish Ale.
Okay, we're good. Background good.
Right, so from listening to some NFL podcasts, I got the idea of giving you all some sweeping statements about the games industry, and I want you to tell me whether you're buying or selling and why. Does everyone understand the premise?
Buy or sell?
I
Is buying
believe so.
good or selling good?
Can we have one example?
So
how about
I'll start
selling
off with
out? And how about selling out? Is that okay?
it can be whatever you want, not birthday boy. So if I give you a one as an example, only indie games have the ability to be truly creative. Matt, are you buying that statement or are you selling that statement?
I'm selling that statement.
Good. It's a good call.
Why?
Because I'm clearly an indie developer or somebody who is engaged in making sure that indie games sell. I think. I don't know. I don't fully understand the premise, which is why I needed the example.
No, the example.
Okay,
His example is basically saying
buying would be I agree, and selling means you don't agree.
Oh, all right. Okay, I'm buying that. I'm definitely buying that.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, explain yourself before we get to Mitch and why he's pulling a funny face.
I like indie games. So
That's not the question.
Yeah, but everybody likes indie games.
Matt, that's not the question. The question
All
is
right.
the question is indie games are the only ones that can be truly creative. That's not true.
It's not necessarily true. It's more true than, or it's more often that it's true than it is in the AAA industry.
But this is a blanket statement, though. They cannot.
Wait, what?
He gave
these are sweeping blanket statements. So this is the internet, Matt. There is no balance unless we're talking about Square Enix for balance, and we have to say Square Enix is shit.
And Bethesda is an amazing studio that makes amazing video games.
Exactly.
At least for this year.
Well,
thank you for speaking the obvious, Matt. Thank you for speaking the obvious.
We'll find out in 2029 when they release the next Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
So
Matt, it's not even called Elder Scrolls. It's just going to be Fountain.
Okay, so you all were happy when I was selling that statement because it is a sweeping, broad generalization that cannot be true in every instance.
Well, that's not the point. I want you to give an opinion.
Yeah, you don't appease me.
I did give my opinion.
Okay, then we'll move on.
Yeah.
Jesus, Matt. So I know. Why did I come to you first? Actually, I'll go to the most laid back person whom I know to ask them for a categoric opinion on one way or the other. So, Liam, you have controversial opinions on stuff.
No, I don't. What gave you that idea?
Have you?
I don't know. When you said that the government were okay to sell off a TV channel, even though the person who's approving the sale had no idea that how the TV channel was funded.
That is the most controversial thing I've ever said.
This week.
Right. This week. I was gonna say within the last 20 minutes.
Right. So I'll get onto one that's actually a bit more nuanced. So
wait, so the one you told Liam, Matt was just an example, it wasn't actually one of the questions?
Yeah, that was one of the most boring ones.
Okay, gotcha.
I've got some juicies. And this is a juicy one.
Got some oranges.
Liam, the games industry need the console wars to be successful. Are you buying that statement or selling that statement?
I am selling that one hard. It's kind of difficult to argue, really, because the console wars. I mean, remember for a while the console wars wasn't that much of a thing, and people were a bit calmer.
Before the internet.
Well, no, more sort of between, say, like I don't know, 2014 maybe and 2018. You know, I feel like if I was to say any kind of fanboyism is the worst, I would say it was PlayStation. Just because when Xbox is losing, then they shut the fuck up, you know. But yeah, I just hate all forms of fanboyism. I can't stand it. It gets on my nerves. As much as I'd like it to go away, it's like the same problem that you get with people. Because people exist, you know, you're never going to get rid of all of the shitty parts of society. So, Yeah, fanboy. I will sell the hell out of them, but bed bugs, they're very difficult to get rid of. For instance,
I'm buying that one.
I
100%.
thought someone would.
I'm
So,
buying it
Mitch, why are you
100%.
buying that statement?
I disagree with Liam's perspective about like this being about fanboyism. The console war is two manufacturers trying to be number one in the market. That is important to creating competition and creating good games. PlayStation had to one up their game because they were losing the console war in sales to the Xbox 360 when they had the PS3, and look what they did. They got their act together. They were able to put some of the best games out in the industry. And now look what Microsoft did. Microsoft had to pivot and come up with Game Pass, a subscription service that you all get to enjoy taking part of, to be able to enjoy good titles on a streaming service. And eventually, hopefully, when they get there, you'll get to witness first party, which then also made Sony pivot again to be able to have the opportunity to potentially, which we talked about this in last week's episode, that we thought, at least I thought that, the new PlayStation Plus service is a way for Sony to pivot if they need to. They would never have have done this if Microsoft didn't push their hand, which is part of the console war, which is about owning the market. Now, they may see each other as not competition, but that's not what everyone else sees it as. And in a sense, fanboyism pushed Microsoft to push backwards compatibility, which put Sony in a corner. So, like, there is positivities to these things, and I think I am buying that. There is some negatives, but I'm buying it.
Matt, same
yes.
thing to you, and then we'll come back to Liam for
The reboot.
I'm leaning towards buying, only because I think competition in the market is good.
I'm a stockbroker. Buy.
Yeah. Although I do agree with Liam that a lot of the discourse behind it is very toxic and not needed.
Yeah, it can be toxic. It can be toxic, but it's still needed for competition. That's why I bought it, because I don't disagree with Liam's argument. I just think I think the competition is more important.
Yeah.
Well, when I heard Keith's statement, he said console wars, and I don't think the console wars are the same thing as market competition. Because the problem with fanboyism is people buy a PlayStation or they buy an Xbox, and then they have a horse in the race, and they just have to ignore all of the bad things these companies do and glom onto one of them and constantly criticize the other one without any reality.
They don't. They choose to.
Yeah, they choose to.
Shane and Matt have talked about this in the past and saying, if you can't afford everything, which we can't, so you can't afford a Xbox Series X, a PS5, a iPad, Nintendo Switch, a PC, because there's certain things you can only play on PC. That no one is going to have the opportunity to, or very few people are going to have the opportunity to afford all of those things. The reason that I threw this in is because I view the console wars as analogous to wasps.
Okay.
They're a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you don't have wasps, the population of flies and other insects will explode, because wasps feed on the flies and particular other insects. But what it does do is create a scenario that demands competition, response, and an element of improvement that would stagnate otherwise.
Was so bad it made Berkough walk away.
He was just checking his house for do I have any wasp spray in the house.
He's like, did I buy that the other day?
Yeah, but that's where I'd say if there were no incentive, if there were this utopia that everyone can just stream every game that they could possibly want on any device that they could possibly want, where is the reason for someone to want to try and improve what it is they're delivering and without some form of competition, which is generated by fans of a certain franchise or platform, I don't see that as necessary. Another example would be what happens when a team wins the Super Bowl. Everyone tries. The NFL is a copycat league, so if someone is doing something well, other people try and copy it. If your team isn't as good, you try and upgrade it.
And everyone always hates the team that won the Super Bowl. Everyone's like, you all suck. Like, I can't stand these guys. These guys win every year, even though they won for the first time in like 12 years.
Or you have the people that are like, I've always liked them. Of course, I'm happy that they won.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm on the side of buying. I'm also on Liam's side that you don't, in order to be a fan of something, you don't have to be an arsehole about it.
Yeah, I think you guys have convinced me. I just wasn't thinking of the question that broadly. But
I didn't even have to use my power
I definitely
of
agree with
compulsion.
what you say. You haven't used that much.
No,
it's only used on me.
Yeah.
So you can't use it again. You know what I mean? I could say
get another chance, Mitch.
Yeah. Right. Next sweeping statement. EA Football will struggle to sell now they've lost the FIFA franchise license. Mitch, are you buying or selling?
Now, can you just do me a favor? It's been I don't understand exactly 100% about this story. So they do have the teams and they do have the players, or just only the teams?
They've got the teams and the players that they've negotiated deals with through the relevant national and the relevant national
so they have every player
associations. Well, I don't know every, but
okay, so it's like a tennis game where you get whoever signed the contract to be there to use their likeness in your game.
Yeah, but it's not like Konami where they have Lionel Messi.
Okay. Well. Okay, sorry. What was the question again? So I could buy it if I know I'm buying or selling.
So EA will struggle to sell its football games now it's lost the FIFA license.
I'm selling. It all comes down to gameplay, and as long as they have the teams and they have the gameplay, and nothing else matters. They're still the best in the market. Like if there's someone better, then they should be extra worried. But there is no one better in the market right now.
Matt, you love sports.
I didn't think this would actually happen.
Sports.
But Mitch and I haven't disagreed on anything yet. But no, yeah, I'm selling. I think that the EA marketing machine is going to outpower the FIFA name. And people are going to be like, oh, well, this is the football/soccer game that's out. This is what I'm going to buy. I don't think, unless FIFA's made a deal with somebody else to have their name on, Pez or something, I don't.
No. So the rumor is.
Sorry, I also bet $20 that they put the makers of FIFA on their box, just to make sure people understand. Like, this is the makers of FIFA.
I don't think they can use the name.
They
can't use their acronym FIFA at all.
Not even in their not even to say the maker of FIFA like 21, like that is their title.
Yeah, so they might get away with it when if they reference previous titles.
That's what I'm talking about. The makers of FIFA 21, so that way they can put it on the box so people go, oh, okay, that's the team.
Maybe.
Liam.
I'm of the same opinion. What I would say though is that I don't think they really they could name it something ridiculous, and I think it would still sell the same amount, pretty much, because these people that buy these games just sort of get them every year on habit. And while the game is exactly the same as it has always been, then there's no reason as to why people are going to not keep buying it just because the FIFA name is removed from it. I would say at least until better competition comes along.
This is what happens when Mitch has his Mitch mug. Everyone agrees with him.
Potentially. I have more. I'd agree with all of you. I'd be selling that one for the reason that there is no competition. They own the market. So someone's going to look up online. They're going to type in FIFA 22. What's going to flash up on your Amazon search? EA Football.
Exactly.
So,
and they know EA Sports. It's all over the place. EA Sports. It's all over everywhere.
It's in the game.
It's in the game.
I miss the cameos from the old Madden games. They were good. Where they got the guys at the Pro Bowl to do the little skits. So until FIFA can actually license out a decent alternative, but I don't think they can, because I think they're just a greedy bunch of bastards who will just license out the name to whatever gotcha mobile app developer that will rake in billions globally. They don't care about. I very much doubt they care about it being a good product if they know that they can rake in billions in terms of microtransactions.
I wonder.
That's an interesting conversation to have.
Excuse me, Matt. I'm talking.
What could EA offer as a deal to get the name back if they wanted it? Like, I don't understand what FIFA thinks they're getting out of this by backing out and
because they weren't getting a piece of the microtransaction money. They were only getting a flat rate of being able to use the license, which means they lost out on billions of dollars. And they're like, F you, we need a chunk of that change. And then EA's like, oh, hell no.
Well, that's the thing, though. The trade-off is, I'm going to cut everybody off today. I'm on a roll.
No, that's fine.
The trade-off is...
Liam, you should tell him apologize to you, because that is not okay.
Up in here. Let the pregnant man talk to however much he wants.
The trade-off is that, like, FIFA then is not synonymous with the game, like, because the game exists. A lot of people think FIFA is soccer, right? Or FIFA is football.
Well, it is, because it's the International Federation of Football Associations. It's the Federation International something.
But I'm saying without that being tacked on the box and being like official like that, I think people will start to be like, oh no, it's just a sport. It's separate from the overall name.
Nah, I don't see that, Matt, and I only see that I don't see that because it's just like Call of Duty. They buy this thing every single freaking year. It's Madden. They buy this every single year. I was actually not at my.
I'm saying I think that FIFA is stupid for trying to tap into and want to negotiate to get all of the microtransaction money because they have something more valuable.
No,
well, we don't know what negotiations happen behind the scenes, but basically, knowing FIFA's historic behaviour, which is greedy and corrupt, I'm guessing they went to EA and said, "We want 50% of all of your microtransaction value," and EA said 50%. Screw you guys. We just would give up the license then.
Yeah.
This is public knowledge. I'm pretty sure. I might have it wrong, but I believe that EA had a deal with FIFA where they were paying $3 billion a year to obviously keep the brand, the FIFA brand, in the game, and basically, FIFA wanted to renegotiate that deal, and the offer they put on the table was that EA pay them $15 billion a year, which is patently ridiculous. So,
that's a lot. That's a lot of money.
And I'm pretty sure that's how talks fell apart.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see if something like I wonder if it'll have the same. If I would be. I don't know if I would be selling as much on this if you said it was Madden. Because at least Madden is not... I mean, if another football game came out to compete with it...
which we're getting, aren't we?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say that there...
2K is developing one.
Well,
there was one on the PC, too, that they were trying to do.
Well, anyway, I just think... I think Madden would be more worrisome in my books than FIFA would be, because FIFA's freaking international. It's like Madden is mainly the United States
football, because they actually kickballs
They
with their feet more than throw them through the air forwards.
I was gonna say you do kick a field goal.
Yeah, but throw ball just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No. It's the most popular sport in the world, and I think the reason that the greedy bastards at FIFA wanted to renegotiate this deal is because they saw that they were missing out on the billions in terms of microtransactions from the mobile market by having an exclusive license with EA for EA to only produce games for them. That's why they went in with that, if Liam is correct, 15 billion, because that's what they think that they might get by putting out shilling out the license to mobile app developers across the world. And because they're a greedy, corrupt organisation, they're probably more than happy to put out crap quality mobile apps, but in the hope that it will earn them billions in terms of revenue. Have I mentioned that FIFA are greedy and corrupt? I don't know if I've covered that just yet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Can you repeat that one more time? Just kidding.
FIFA are greedy and corrupt. Right, next sweeping statement. Mitch, I'll come to you first. Gaming will never get over its image of immaturity, sexism, and being male-dominated.
You said never?
Never.
No, I'm selling that piece of garbage. It is more is. No, it's hard to say. From okay, I could say it in this way. Sorry, it just has to do with my job. From stepping into the games industry, I've seen a more diverse group of people have a passion for games than I do in like columns and Reddits and YouTubes. Yeah. This industry is very diverse, ranging from people, from women to LGBTQ individuals, to like very nice guys, like just in general that really care about, and people who have disabilities as well. And so no, that's a piece of garbage. I think that perception, like any perception, can go away with time. And I think with how our industry is growing in different ways, including, like calling out the BS that is happening in the industry right now with how women are being treated at some studios and all that kind of stuff. Because we're having that, or like games having accessibility features in them to include people who have disabilities. I think that is changing the industry as we know it right now. In probably 10 years, I could see it change the demographic in general. So no, I don't buy that piece of garbage. I'm selling that.
Liam.
Would you mind repeating the statement?
Gaming will never get over its image of immaturity, sexism, and being male-dominated.
Get over. Can I say that I half buy, half sell?
No. This is the internet. We only deal in absolutes.
Oh, yeah.
The internet is like Sith Lords.
Use the word never, and I think that's the thing that makes me go, can't.
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, I think. I'd more sell than I would buy, so I'll say sell. I think things are definitely going to get better in the long run, and I certainly hope they do. But I also think that one of the problems with everything being on the internet these days is you're always going to have a certain type of person that's always going to be a fucking dickhead online to black people or white people, women, disabled people. Unfortunately, I don't think really you can make the problem better. You can make it so there's less of these bastards, but I don't think the problem will ever fully go away.
Sorry, Liam, I don't mean to correct you, but just so you know, you want to terminologize it as people with disabilities. But by saying disabled people, you're saying that they're disabled first before they're a person. It's what we call person first language. Like we don't want to always label, we don't want to say that
language
person
is different in the UK, but
yeah, it's like we don't want to say someone is autistic because that's not define them. They are a person who has autism.
Okay. But basically, lost my trail of thought.
Sorry, I just wanted to for the world out there to understand that. I think that's very important.
And I have that argument with people here because someone corrected my work where I said people with disabilities, and they said the correct terminology is disabled persons. And I'm thinking, what version of English is that?
Yeah, no, that you don't. It's just like if I have cancer, I'm not defined by my cancer. Like I'm not I'm not the brain cancer the brain cancer guy. I'm the person who has brain cancer. I don't have brain cancer, by the way. Just saying.
No, and Matt isn't pregnant. Let's just cover that as well.
What is the purpose of persons? Is that just a language because?
Well, it's just because people with
necessarily.
It's pluralizing. That's all it is.
Yeah, and also just at the time, people didn't consider people of autism or on the spectrum as an actual diagnosis disease that people have. They just considered that that's who they are, and so that's why they have said like this person's autistic instead of just saying that person has autism or this person has diabetes. Like it's a disease, so we should just treat it the same as every other disease that we say when we talk about it. And people talk about it differently because that's how they talked about it in the past, but it's different. We know more.
And Liam, what you were saying is people on the internet shouldn't be dickheads. So, Matt.
Oh, actually, I did remember the end of my point.
Good job to interrupt Matt after he so rudely did to you earlier.
Here, have a cookie. Oh, shit.
Basically,
I almost spilled my drink on my keyboard.
The point I was trying to make is that I think there's a lot of people that that feed the trolls, essentially. You know, like I think that's a big problem, and I think people, it doesn't make the behaviour towards them right, but I think people need to learn to ignore these people, and I think they need to learn to have thicker skin when dealing with these people. Because I don't think the problem will get better by handling them that way. Unfortunately, the internet offers people impunity to do shitty things, like without many, if any, consequences. And that's just my perspective.
No, I get it totally. I think that's something that when Keith said the question, I thought as if like the overall, what's the word I'm looking for? That the overall consensus is that's what the type of people are in the industry, and I think that will change. Will there always be those kinds of individuals that will feed that stigmatism? I mean, that stigma, yes. But the overall consensus, I think, will change, and that's why I say sell.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm selling. I think because it's really what we're talking about is a vocal minority. It's not really. It's the Simpsons meme with the two monkeys fighting, right?
I don't know this meme.
That's what. Yeah. So basically, it's a group of people that are standing around and they're cheering on the monkeys who are fighting. I think that's what that's really what we're talking about. It's not that the industry will never get over that. It's just that there's a vocal minority that people like to poke and cheer on those people sometimes.
And as they get as they get caught for being the assholes they are and the bad people they are, they're slowly being held responsible and getting kicked out of our industry, and that's what's important.
I think for me there's two elements to this, and I'll
except for Berkough, who got a golden parachute.
Well, dependent on the sale going through, because people are looking at it because they're unhappy with his golden parachute.
I hope
even though I don't know what legal levers they have to approve or not someone's personal contractual arrangement with the company who they work for and ran. But let's wait and see.
It's America.
So where this came from is I was scrolling through Instagram on our account a couple of days ago, and the official Ubisoft Instagram account posted a thing saying, if you had a real world cheat code, what would it be? And there was lots of obvious stuff. So like infinite money, God mode, flying, all the kind of things that you might think of. But then there was some absolute odious shit. So one person, whether or not they were real or a bot, put in Ubisoft make better games, which I thought was not a quality jab at a company, but a jab nonetheless. The person underneath put pussy magnet. I thought, oh dear.
I don't think that cheat code works the way they think it does.
And then scrolling down, someone else put no women in video games, and I thought, oh dear.
Well, if those two guys get together, then it's just going to be horrible. Those cheat codes will never work together.
Yeah.
Also, if those two get together and try to actually make or sell a game, no one's going to buy it.
Well, they may even end up in court over it. But it was that kind of thing. So I see this in two different ways. You've got the internal, which I do believe the game industry
Wait, before
is
your explanation,
trying.
are you buying or selling?
Oh, I'm selling.
Okay.
It's going to take time, and it's going to take more women and people from minority backgrounds in positions of power within the game development community and the financial sector of the games industry more broadly for it to happen, as it will with wider society. I see there's that the internal bit in terms of the industry will get better more quickly than the external bit, which will include these fuckwits who think they can go on social media and come out with stupid statements like, I don't want women in my video games. So I'm selling on the basis that the industry will sort itself out at some point, or be commanded to by some kind of legal process or scandal that may or may not come out more so than what's happened with ABK, because they got away with that and just paid $18 million, which is less than Bobby Kotick's salary for a quarter.
Jesus.
But I don't think it will ever get over the external level of idiocy, because there's always going to be idiots.
Do you think he just Scrooge McDucks it? Or does he actually...
Well, if it was all paper, because you couldn't dive through coins, could you? That would just hurt too much. You just land flat and splat, and that would hurt so badly.
I feel like enough paper, it would hurt too.
Yeah, well, could you imagine diving into all that paper and the paper cuts trying to get out?
Not to mention how dirty it would be, unless it was freshly printed.
Oh, he gets it freshly printed.
Yeah, straight from the US Mint.
Doesn't quite work for such a dirty man.
Either that, or he just lines his suit with actual money.
You know what? There's always money in the banana stand.
There's always money in the banana stand.
There's always money in the banana stand. I put money in the lining of the banana stand. I burned it, Dad. I burned it down.
Yeah, it'd be a shame if it went up.
I'm going.
Thank you for that.
This one I think will cause some difficulties in people comprehending it, but I've thrown it in purposefully. The UK games market is unimportant to the games industry.
Ooh.
Matt, are you buying or selling?
That's a tough one. Because you got to think about like percentage of sales and things like that. I'm selling that statement. I think that it is important. I think. What was the statement again?
The UK games well, I'll change it slightly. The UK games industry is unimportant to the games industry globally.
It's unimportant. No, I'm selling that statement because Rockstar. There's a few developers that are doing stuff up there. Isn't Sony Liverpool still there? Yeah, I think.
No, they're Firesprite now, essentially.
Oh, all
which
right.
Sony before. They destroyed Liverpool and then rebought all of the people that formed the new studio. So great, Sony.
Also, there's Romero, the guy that did Daikatana. His studio is in Ireland.
Which is a different country.
Is it Northern Ireland? Or?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if it's Northern Ireland or Ireland. Yeah.
I would assume it's Ireland because they give tax breaks and on top of.
You know what? I'm actually buying. Yeah, the UK is. Yeah, it's.
Fuck the UK.
It's not important.
Well, right, Liam, because it looks like Mitch is doing research.
All right, this
I'm already
was
at
a
my
difficult
answer.
one.
I already got my answer.
Because in the sales numbers that are made in this country, that side of the industry, I guess, definitely isn't necessary. But the amount of studios from the UK that have had some people might not know this, but we have an absolute shit ton of support studios that actually work on some of the biggest titles around the world. So there's a lot of support developers over here. But then there's also studios like Rockstar, Rocksteady. There is Creative Assembly.
Hello Games.
Yeah, Hello Games, Playground Games, which is gaining a load of prominence. So what was the question exactly? If you could say it one more time. Just the
UK
part.
games industry is unimportant to the games industry globally.
Okay. Right.
Globally.
It's not unimportant, I wouldn't say. So I'll sell that statement because it is important. If it was to say that it wasn't necessary, then maybe it isn't. If the British games industry was to just disappear, the games industry would be fine. A lot of people would be upset, but it'd be fine. But it is important. Like there's a lot of great history there, a lot of excellent studios that no longer exist. So I do think the British games industry certainly has a legacy, and will definitely have a even bigger legacy going forwards.
Mitch,
I am buying your statement.
boo!
Now I look
scum.
as I should do, because I know who you are, McWomble. I looked up the definition of unimportant just to make sure I'm following the definition to the T, which is just lacking importance or significance. Doesn't mean it's insignificant. It's just lacking it. And so in that case, I will say that because if you look at the world gaming market, the top 10 markets, the UK is on the top 10 market. But the UK is lacking dramatically comparative to all the top three. The top three right now is China with $49 billion. The US is $30 billion. Japan is $18 billion. And then there's a group of three, which is South Korea with 6.2, the UK with 6.1, and India with 5.2. Now, if you look at their projected revenues potentially in up to 2025, so this is as of 2021. Now, going to 2025, the projections, China is projected to jump up a whopping like $30 billion. So it would be worth 71.2. The US behind it will be worth 42, and Japan would be worth 28. And then again, South Korea, UK, and India kind of all stay the same, with only going up by about $2 billion. So in regards to like being significant to the market, I don't know. And then also you got to look at it as India. Yes, India is also a much poorer country in regards to generating
more billionaires per head of population than the UK.
Yes, but there is a huge population there. So I could see eventually when if and or when India does able to get its its country in a stabler market space. Like they could easily shoot up to like one of the top because of just the vast of the population there. But anyway, what I'm basically just trying to say is, it's yes, are they significant? A little, but they're lacking significance due to its competitors right now with the China, US, and Japan, like over jumping it by over $20 billion. It's just
what? Okay, I'll let you guys in on where this came from. So there was the BAFTA Gaming Awards a couple of days ago, and Returnal smashed it. But Playground Games won Best British Game, and I jokingly put on our Discord Best British Game. Who gives a shit?
Which is true. It's not like the Game Awards do its Best American Game. Like, what the F?
Yeah.
Well, the BAFTAs is a celebration of British. They do it for every
talent.
BAFTA award. Yeah.
So it started me thinking, and then it made me think of a question that I got onto Pactor Factor. I think it was a year and a half or so ago. I was talking about the UK games industry.
Well, because you always get your questions on Pactor.
I haven't had one in months.
Have you tried?
I've emailed Shane. He's ignoring my emails.
It's a fantasy league thing. I don't so much as get a retweet of anything anymore. I personally feel affronted. But it made me think about Pactor's response, which is the UK market is a rounding error. And if you take that as the share of the global market, yes, it is. But if you were a business owner and you missed out on £6 billion and viewed that as a rounding error, if I was the CEO of that company and someone said, "Oh, we've just wiped $6 billion off our market value," it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
So from one perspective, yes, it is a small player, but if you look at that list, the UK is in the top 10. The UK only has a population size of 63 million people. So that's a significant spend per head of population. That's more, as I did a bit of research as well.
You didn't give me enough time to do more research to come with a better cohesive answer, because
that's the whole point. That's the whole point. I need to keep you guys on your toes. So it's pretty much on par with Germany, but looking at their spend, which is about their contribution to the gaming market is about €5 billion, so about £6 billion. So it's about on par.
No, it's 2.7, according to this one I'm looking at. Germany is listed at $2.7 billion. Russia, France, and Germany are after the India, UK, and South Korea with 2.7 billion, and Mexico at 2.3.
What year?
This is as of June 2021.
Okay, so I can't remember where I saw the figure, but it could. Are you looking at dollars?
No, this is in pounds.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, in billion US dollars. Thank you.
Yep. USD. So that would be. What would that be in euros? I can't do that conversion in my head. Anyway, the website I saw...
Conversions. You do Celsius.
The website I saw...
Give us pounds.
The website I saw listed Germany as about €5 billion for the estimated revenue for 2022.
Click.
Actually, so $1 US is worth 0.92 euro. It's almost...
Yeah, that would work out, yeah.
It's almost 1 to 1.
Oh, okay. So
if you're it's the equivalent of cutting off your nose to spite your face. So you've got more revenue than any other European country, even though some of those European countries have much bigger economies than we do, despite what the Conservative government is telling its populace. And it's bigger spend per head of population on gaming. Then there's the other factors that Liam and Matt are alluding to. We've got world-renowned game studios here. So if the UK games industry just disappeared, that means Rockstar North goes. That means Hello Games goes. All the support studios, Playground Game, no more Forza Horizon, gone.
all
Um,
front games, all sorts.
and what I would expect from some, if we were a popular Twitch streamer, and someone would say, "Oh, they just move country." No, because you need to think about the wider economics of this. The UK government currently pays tax relief to companies who are in high-tech industry, of which gaming is one. So technically, Liam and I pay Rockstar Games to be Rockstar Games, even though they've got the world's highest grossing video game ever. Liam and I are paying them money. The Activision head office is listed in the UK, so they don't have to pay tax in the US.
You know what, Keith? Fucking buy your buy your Rockstar Shock cards and just shut up.
What? Send the codes to Michael?
I thought that was going somewhere entirely different.
Well, I mean, you can.
Buy your Rockstar shares. So there's more behind the scenes that I think is than just people buying software and hardware, and that's where I think a sweeping statement like the UK market is a rounding error is an off the cuff thing. And yeah, I know it's off the cuff and it was a bit in jest, but I wanted to bring it up here because I'm a vindictive bastard who dwells on things.
Now, just stating it's lacking importance, not necessarily not important. So using your
Huh? So far, everyone's agreed with you. Are you now willing to change your position?
He doesn't play enough GTA.
You all agree with me.
You can't compel me to do anything anymore. You spent that power.
I'm not gonna use my power of compulsion. But no, I'm not changing my mind.
Make me go against my own country. That would be cool.
No, I am not changing my mind just because of the word unimportant is lack of, and not doesn't mean it isn't. And because of the lack of word, I'm able to. I think I'm right, so I'm gonna stay there.
Okay, good for you. But what I would say is that no one talks about. So the other thing is the American games industry that has really enjoyed conversion rates for many, many years, because the pound to the dollar conversion rate has been really good for a long period of time. Much better than the euro, much better than the yen. So again, there's another string to that bow of yes, it in a global sense, its level of importance is less, but it shouldn't necessarily mean that it should be viewed as irrelevant.
Not to mention as well,
again,
Keith. They've
also
been making bank off of us. I say that they've also been making bank off of us from our conversion rates, because now they're charging
that's what I mean. It's
£70 per game, which is
$84.
I'm pretty sure it's $90. It's a lot of money.
Well, I think Keith, you should have maybe changed your question, and that's unfortunate that you.
Well, no, I specifically worded it in that way.
Oh, okay.
I purposefully worded it in that way in order to have this kind of conversation. Last one.
Oh, we're already down to the last one?
Yeah.
No bonus?
No bonus ones?
No bonus?
Okay. If you want a bonus one, then let's finish off where we started. Matt,
yes.
Only indie games can be truly creative.
I'm buying that statement. Because you're not beholden to shareholders. You don't have to worry about trying to corner any specific markets or anything like that. You can just make something that's unique, and if it catches on, it catches on. It didn't cost you a whole lot.
You know, he used the word only.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Most AAA stuff is just derivative. It's not creative at all. What was the last seriously creative AAA game that you guys ever saw?
Elden Ring.
Titanfall 2.
Elden Ring's not. I mean, it's on the back
I-
of Demon Souls, Dark Souls.
Very creative
The
sequence.
Legend of Zelda breathing in the wilderness.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I don't think it's that creative at all. It does those things in a very good way, but I don't think it's.
The
It's
last
not- it's
of
not
Us
that creative.
2.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Right, Liam.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. I disagree with you on that one. I think there are loads of creative games in the AAA games. Yeah,
I'm hoping Liam isn't bringing up Chocobo Racing.
No. No. Why would I bring that up?
I don't know,
It's-
maybe you were going to use that as an
Chocobo
example
GP.
of Square
Um,
Enix trying to be innovative.
Well, I'm not sure about Square Enix having been innovative for quite some time. But yeah, I think honestly, I'm just going to put that out there. I think Sony's first party games are a glowing example of taking risks with AA development. A lot of people find them to be quite boring, and uninteresting because they all amount to third-person shooters. But I think they're missing the point. A lot of the things and the risks and the things that they do with their games. Like, for instance, The Last of Us Part 2, a lot of people just don't like it because it's just not a very enjoyable game. No, I don't mean in terms of gameplay, I just mean in terms of experience because it's a very dark and depressing world to live in. But I think narratively, it shows what games can do from a narrative perspective that movies just can't achieve, television shows just can't achieve, and quite frankly, books can't achieve. I've always loved the idea of storytelling in video games evolving to be more like storytelling in a book. But I think it's starting to move past that in a lot of ways. And I think there are loads of other examples of AAA development doing things that a simple indie game just can't do with all of the extra money that's allotted to them. And I would say just before I finish that yeah, I think the indie game scene is valuable because you can do a lot more risky things. You can be a lot more creative. But I don't think it means that AA games can't be creative. And honestly, like the indie game market is also good in the way that because they try new ideas, it sort of helps the AA. I should just say AAA, the AAA game space.
No, because if you say AAA, I'll have to say triple A.
Basically, it makes those games. It makes it far less of a risk to make certain decisions in those games.
Have you just torpedoed your own argument?
Well, no, because the question was if you could repeat it, but it was far more absolute than saying that AAA games have no creativity, and they do have creativity.
No. So the sweeping statement is only indie games can be truly creative.
Truly.
So
No, I don't agree with that either, to be honest.
Mitch should be googling both those words. So where the reason I ask you the question is, you say the creativity in the indie space influences the AAA space.
It does, yeah.
So
Not all
why
the
isn't therefore the question back to you would be, why isn't the AAA space being as creative as the indie space?
Because, well, from the perspective of the AAA space, I think they're far less creative because of like exactly what Matt said, which is them having to basically cater to a wider audience, taking less risks, just with the perspective of wanting to sell more copies. But I don't think that means that they don't take creative risks, and I don't think that means that just because when a company's owned by a bigger conglomerate, a lot of the time they buy them for the talent that's already at the studio. They want them to take risks on their behalf because they trust the team that's already there to make the next breakthrough. which is like when Take-Two
unless they leave them alone to mismanage themselves. Isn't that right, Mitch?
It happens a lot, but not all the time.
It seems to happen a lot at Xbox. with another news story that just came out about it too, you know.
Right, Mitch.
I'm selling that is unequivocally not true at all. Is the indie space more creative than the AAA space? AAA space, absolutely. I will not disagree with that. But just because it does not mean that AAA games cannot be forward creative. You know, I can't say.
What I would say is that there's a massive sense of subjectivity in the sweeping statement.
Well,
so only truly and creative are all subjective. So
I know, but to be truthful, like, you know, Sony lets its studios do what it wants. Like it does not make people cater to whatever like people are going to like or don't like. They let them do what they want. They help them bring out their creativity so they can create amazing products. That's what they do. That's why they've been so successful. So like to say that yes, something like EA is going to hamper creativity. Activision Blizzard is going to hamper creativity. But Obsidian's probably not going to do that. You know, there are studios that are allowed for creativity to flourish and allowed to take risks. And that is in the AAA space. There's not a lot of them, but there are some. And so that's where I would say only indie games can be that is a blanket false. Blanket false farce is what I'll say. But I think what also limits indie games too is something in my brain is they can be creative, but they are also very limited on what they can do depending on their budget. And so there are some risks that they just cannot take because they financially cannot afford it. And that's where the AAA space can come in and be able to take the risk there. Not every studio can, but some can. And in doing that, then they can be creative in that way that the indie studio could never imagine.
Well, what I was going to say is there's two things here, which is so the question back to me is Keith, what do you mean by creativity? Because creativity can mean the idea, so the imagination of the people working on the IP, whatever that might be. It might also mean their technical ability to deliver against it. So that's where what you were saying, Mitch, is absolutely right, because you might have someone who's got a creative aspiration of, I don't know, say some bloke in Guildford called Sean, whose technical ability to deliver against it doesn't actually match until, 2 years later?
I mean, we can have that discussion, I guess. I think it did deliver. I think people's expectations were
no, he blatantly lied.
Yeah, that game
blatantly
lied.
All
the stuff that was in it.
Well, it's still a really creative game.
But that's not what we're saying. We don't disagree that it's not a creative game. We disagree that he lied and oversold. and when you say, oh, people's expectations, he set the expectation. He lied to people.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
bought
the
it.
Difference.
I bought it week one. My expectations were met.
Because you got to see reviews on week one and see that he was a liar.
So you didn't have an active like just insight into Sean Murray's Twitter page going, oh, what's he going to say about the game next? What bullshit is he going to say next?
Who's the dude that did Black and White?
Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
right.
Wonderful British gamer.
So put Peter Molyneux and Sean Murray in the same room,
Milo.
And I
Milo
think
my ass.
Well, if
He's
you
a
put
real
if you
child.
put Sean
Guess
Murray
what he
and
worked
Peter
for.
Molyneux in the
Guess who
same
he
room,
worked
that would be
for.
one.
He worked for Xbox.
Yeah, because Jim Ryan's never come out with a two-faced statement. So if you put Peter Molyneux and Sean Murray in the same room and lock the door,
They'll never get a
that
game
room
done.
would fill up with bullshit very quickly.
Bullshit, and they'll never get a game done. He'll be like, I want Milo integrated into every piece of this game.
Oh my god!
On every planet that you might design.
And then throw Chris Roberts in there, and suddenly they have a lot of money to do a lot of nothing with.
You might as well throw what's his face from BioShock. What's his name? Kev Levine. You might as well throw him in there too.
Right. Are we done, or would you like one more?
One more.
One more.
Yeah, one more.
Right, Matt. The video games industry will perform absolutely fine without first-person shooters.
Ooh.
Can you define perform fine?
In terms of monetary, in terms of income, numbers of studios.
Yeah, I'm selling that statement. I think, as much as I hate to admit it, I think that the industry survives on a lot of first-person shooters and first-person shooter derivative games. I think a lot of this stuff...
Stifling creativity that we were just talking about.
Well, I think there's a lot that you can do from first-person perspective. I think it's just so familiar to people, too.
Yeah. Thank you for that in-depth argument to justify your statement. I love those from you. Thank you very much. You're glowing, by the way.
I know. Still,
is it Liam? Do people need their shooty bang bang, or does shooty bang 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 go shooty bye bye?
I'll have to sell that statement because I was thinking about this just from the perspective of getting rid of Call of Duty. And I thought, well, yeah, if Call of Duty was to disappear tomorrow, it'd be like a big blow to the industry. I mean, look how the market's reacting to them missing a year, you know?
Right.
But then I thought, well, if Call of Duty did disappear, the market would react and people would come up with a load of competitors to Call of Duty, and, you know, maybe Battlefield would finally get shit together. And other games would probably crop up.
Well, in this scenario, Battlefield wouldn't exist either, and we definitely wouldn't get a Titanfall 3.
That's the point I was getting at, is because if you were to get rid of all first-person shooters, that leaves a huge gap in the market. Because I used to know people that would never touch anything unless it wasn't a first-person shooter. In fact, some people are just, you know, when Call of Duty sort of pivoted to the future, some people are like, oh, I fucking hate it. I need something realistic. I need to put me in the soldier's shoes. I need to have like 2 grenades for some reason.
Boots on the ground.
And yeah, exactly. Boots on the ground, and, you know, boring as fuck, quite frankly. But yeah, I do think the market would suffer if first-person shooters were to just go away. And I enjoy first-person shooters, and I would miss them.
It would mean I stopped playing Apex Legends and actually play other games.
It basically gets rid of the whole Battle Royale scene. Oh, actually, Fortnite isn't first-person. Almost.
Nope. Mitch?
I'm going to buy that, sir. I'm going to buy that and take that and cuddle it and hold it forever, because this is what it is, gentlemen. Like, yes, would there be a whole gap in the market? Yes. But doesn't mean those people might go somewhere else. People buy FIFA every single freaking year. We talked about this already. People buy like consoles for maybe like a sports game. Now, some people do buy a console for Call of Duty. I'm really curious on what percentage actually does it just for only Call of Duty. And I think if it was gone, I think the market would be filled with something else that people would still be worthwhile to go play. You can see it now with the adaptation of, like, these game franchises are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are expanding their games, their game libraries more and more and more. Like hell, like the Elden Ring, proclaimed Game of the Year already when we haven't even finished the year yet. Elden Ring has.
It was Game of the Year last year when it was announced.
Sorry.
Let's just face it. Come on.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
My game of the year so far.
anyway that like that thing has sold more copies than any other in the series. So that means it brought in a new audience, and I think all these franchises are bringing in more audience because the numbers keep going up on sales. So I think if you took out the first person shooter market, it would be replaced with something else or people would go to a different market to be able to play their games. I think that the playing of video games, people love it. People enjoy it. I mean, that's why we talk about this crap, and that's why I do it for a living. And so,
But we don't know what you do for a living because you can't tell us.
no, I can't say anything. Sorry.
No. So you go to a building in which you can't tell us what happens there, who's in there. So all we know is you go to a building and there's Red Bull.
Yes, I get free Red Bull. That's all I can say.
That's all.
I mean, I don't, yeah. Anyway,
Are you just shoplifting?
no.
I walk down to the local. I walk down to the local newsagent and I steal Red Bull. That could be your career from now on, as far as we know.
Well, anyway, but anyway, I
thanks non-disclosure agreements.
But I think, in just in perspective, I think the market would fail.
So I look at it also in terms of a historical context, and so that partially informs my opinion on it. Because if Wolfenstein 3D hadn't come out, I don't think that we would have Elder Scrolls, because we would have never had Ultima Underworld. We probably wouldn't have games like Dishonored, because there would have been, no Deus Ex and things like that.
That's
so
okay if we didn't have Dishonored. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Never mind. It's made by Bethesda, my favorite studio of all time. Never mind. I'm sorry. I take that back.
Right.
I'd argue that was Deus Ex purely a first-person shooter, or was it the first expansion of the?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. I don't.
Yeah.
But without having Wolfenstein 3D, you wouldn't have all those other games.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's not his question, though. His question was that they would do without.
Could they survive without?
That means, like, if we got rid of it today. That's what I imagine. His question is more realizing of if we got rid of it 20 years ago. It's if we got rid of it today, would it survive? Would it be whatever? I don't even remember what the rest of the question was. But anyway, I like if we did it today, things would be fine. I agree with you more if it was a historical context. Absolutely, Berkough, I'd be more on your side for this one. But it's not a historical context. It's if today we got rid of first-person shooters, we banned them from the world, and everyone just forgot they existed, it would be a-okay.
So this scenario is like I go and get my old disc of Modern Warfare 2 out, put it into my old PlayStation, and it just comes up, access denied. I can't play it.
Well, no, it says DR.
Yeah, it would be like,
really funny.
Yeah,
basically.
You no longer own this game.
Mission Impossible, where your disc self-destructs.
I see a class action out of that.
Well, that's. Well, yeah, probably, but who cares? And I'm not just coming up with this scenario because I'm bad at Warzone, or I lost a bet.
You're fine at Warzone. Don't put yourself down like that.
That's not what my kill death ratio says.
Well, fuck the kill death ratio.
That was it from me. Has anyone through this process? I did have one more, but it's
go for it. Let's just get it. I want them all.
Okay, well, last one. Strap yourselves in.
Hold on.
Sony doesn't need games as a service.
Easy.
Liam,
let's start with you.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to sell that. I think they do need games as a service, and I think they need to broaden what they put out, because what they've done for the last few years has worked very well for them. But there are no guarantees that it will continue to work for the next 20 years. I suppose, Pete, there's a very negative connotation with games as a service.
Because most of them have been shit.
Yeah, exactly. But when you do them right, they make a absolute metric ton of money. You know, that's money that you can reinvest in loads of other things. It's if I was running the company, I would definitely want to invest in games as a service. You know, whether they do it right is a completely different question.
So whose model would you like them to follow?
Well, I don't think the perfect model yet exists. If we're being honest, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement.
So what would you view as the perfect model?
I would view a very good model as something like Warframe or Dauntless, maybe. Fortnite has a pretty good model, but also, you know, if you're going to create a game with a model similar to Fortnite, you also need to recognize that charging the amount of money that Fortnite charges for costume packs and bullshit just isn't going to be equitable in a different game if it hasn't amassed the same level of popularity. And I think a lot of game studios don't recognize that, you know, because they put out their game, give you some half-baked costumes that don't have like the branding that Fortnite does. You know, they don't have access to the IPs that Fortnite puts in their game, and then they think these are going to sell buttloads because you know, it's just stupid. You know, and those people don't think about that. And honestly, that is another problem Sony could run into doing it. But I don't think it's a bad idea doing it. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, but I think they're smart to want to invest down that road. And I also hope they invest down a lot of other places. They need first-person shooters, for instance. I think that's a missing gap on their platform. They don't have any first-person shooters at the minute.
Well, they do now. They got Bungie.
Yeah, that's true. But even still, they're not exclusive to their platform, are they?
No.
Which is a good thing. But I think they need more first-person shooters as well.
Right, Mitch.
Can you repeat the full question so I know if I'm buying or selling?
Sony doesn't need games as a service.
Buy. The word is need. They don't need it. Is it great to have? Sure. But look at it. Look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man sold, what, almost 20 million copies by itself? Like, they can be just fine without going into games as a service. So then the word need is what makes me say I'm buying it, because they don't. They every time they release a first party platform, except for when it's like a Gran Turismo or a special, like that kind of specialty type game.
Returnal at 70 quid.
But anyways, when they put those out, people buy them at the masses. They don't need it. They don't need it. Would it be great? Sure, but they don't need it.
Matt.
Yeah, I agree. I think the cachet with Sony is that that they don't do that, or it's not a big part of what they do. It's the single player games, the big, you know, experiences. That's what you buy when you buy a Sony game. They don't need the games as a service. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Bungie though, or what Bungie has on what they're gonna, you know, do in the future.
Well, I think Bungie will carry on doing a Bungie. They'll just work with other studios behind the scenes to say this is how we do our netcode. This is how regularly we plan ahead for additional content, because that's where, well, if you look at 343, they're floundering. Mm-hmm. Try saying that 3 times fast, because of the gap between the launch of Halo Infinite's multiplayer and the gap between the release of new content.
They still don't even have co-op.
Yeah, I was specifically thinking about the GaaS model. Why, for the love of God, did you not have a plan to release a new map or a new mode for the multiplayer when you launched that ahead of the? So it does make me worry about how badly that entire project was managed. Because if you're building that as a game as a service from the outset,
That's the third Microsoft studio we talked about. That was bad management. Just saying.
I think overall, from the last hour and a half, I think Mitch has played the game best in terms of picking apart my linguistic approach.
That's one thing you get on this show. When it comes to your games, Keith, I'm the one that actually plays the game. How it's meant to be flippin' played.
So do Sony need games as a service? Absolutely not. One thing that I did think about, because Liam mentioned Warframe, I don't know if this is going to get on the latest round of Pacta Factor, because I asked the question about is Bezzy Bobby Kotick. So that may get on there or not, because Shane hates me. Sorry, I just made myself laugh. Would it make sense for Sony to buy... oh, God, I've forgotten the name of the studio who makes Warframe.
Digital Extremes.
Digital Extremes.
Well,
And then,
I mean, you should mention that, Keith. They did try to buy them.
of course they did, didn't they?
Yeah, that was a
they
while
tried
ago.
to buy Leu, who's the company that owns Digital Extremes, but Tencent got in there first. No, NetEase got in there first, I think. Yeah, it was NetEase. They outbid them.
Which
Yeah,
there was a recent news story about NetEase. Everybody's like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" Whatever. They're actually
evil, monolithic, global consortium.
Well, a lot of people think of them in terms of mobile games, but I think you'll probably hear that name more in the future for sure.
Yeah, so there's no chance of anyone buying them now, because they would have to pay so much over the odds. But it would have made sense at the time if they could have bought that studio, because Digital Extremes went through a hell when they first launched Warframe, because it was so grindy. And what they've done since follows the kind of Hello Games type model of we haven't delivered, but we're really... They've done an absolutely brilliant job of giving more, and more than what people expected to get from their promises of saying we're working on the game.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
we want to make it less
made up
grindy.
for lying to people's faces.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much everything he promised us in the game now. So.
Well, except for multiplayer, the ability to land on the same planet.
No, multiplayer's been it's been there for like 3 updates now.
Well, who cares? If anyone is still playing that game, good for you.
Keith, will you be able to grief other players?
Will I be able to grief other players?
Do you remember that? Do you remember that question to Sean Murray? That was one of the big ones that he's like, "Oh, I don't know. You might be able to."
Oh, greet. I thought you said grief. I was like,
no, grief. Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah,
will you be able to grief other players before No Man's Sky was released? Yeah.
Interesting.
Going to build a Death Star and laser a giant penis into their planet.
Well,
that might be that's one version of Lawnmower Simulator I hadn't thought of. What I would say is, for whatever games as a service Sony does come up with, I hope they learn the lessons that have been evident from other people's failures, particularly Square Enix, because Square Enix is shit.
Yes.
And on that note,
we're out.
Games and service.
Square Enix have got quite until we know what Forspoken is. Square Enix have released some of the worst games this year.
Yeah.
Well, just in terms of games as a service, Outriders and Avengers are fucking horrible.